Welcome to the Tom Golly podcast. With me today is my good friend Jonathan Jackson. He is a musical ninja, Swiss Army knife, man of many hats, talents, abilities, and here he is. So welcome, Jonathan.
Man, thank you, Tom. What an intro. Hey, I was wondering, can we call each other by our handles? So can I just say, hey, Tom Golly official? Is that right?
Yeah, it is now. Yeah.
Tom Golly official. It's just JG Jackson music. So forget the first names.
Right.
We're just going to do
Well, I can't call you Jonathan
handles.
Jackson because then people might think you're the actor from Nashville. Yeah.
I get messages every now and again.
You do.
We've talked about this before. So
you ever get anything inappropriate that's meant for him?
No, I can tell they're reaching sometimes. Like it hasn't been inappropriate, but it's kind of like, oh, can I actually message this fairly attractive movie star? And we look totally different. Totally. Yeah. But they don't get that. They're like, oh, I guess you are different.
He's like a foot shorter than you. I met him at a Costco. Oh. And it was funny because I had to write with you the next day.
That's amazing.
I don't know if you remember me telling you about that or not, but
I don't know you met him. Didn't know you met him at Costco.
I did. I just happened to be standing there, and he walks up, and I'm just like, hey, I know that guy from somewhere, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the guy. So I was like, hey man, big fan, yeah, and it was just he's appreciated, super cool guy.
Yeah,
he's unlike you. No,
I'm not.
But
so.
No, but I was so tempted to be like, hey, I know another artist named Jonathan, but I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Oh yeah, I think his team knows me. That's for sure. So.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
do tell.
So yeah, why not? Let's do this. I guess we can edit it out if we need to. So when I was touring with my dinky little Christian rock band, we were out in Southern California in 2014. Like, when you can't handle anything because you're trying to deal with the show and the organizer, the booker, You're just completely occupied, getting ready to play the set. Well, I get an email from the distributor saying, hey, this person is trying to take your music down, and we're going to take it down because they are who they are, unless you can prove otherwise.
Wow. So
because the said artist, we have the same name, they said, you're going to have to take your music down because it's the same name as Jonathan Jackson. So it wasn't him as the representatives.
Yeah,
I get it.
I highly doubt he's even aware of any of that.
Not even aware. But it was kind of like, okay, cool. So I called my dad. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have an attorney or anything. And he's like, oh, cool. This is your attorney. Go ahead and send him an email. And this woman was fantastic and emailed the distributor and said, hey, this is his legal birth name, which you can't just strip someone's legal birth name and say it's a copyright issue, because it's not.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is all while we're like in some nasty, 16-passenger sweaty van. It just smells bad, and we're all stressed. Everyone's mad at each other. That's another thing too on tour. If you've been in a band, everybody's mad. Yeah. Like, I don't know, maybe 60% of the time, if it's going well, or 50, everyone's mad. And so like we're trying to deal with this, and I get this email, and then first, we got it worked out. It was fine. But I knew that if I didn't take care of it right then and there, that talking about precedent, it would have set a precedent for, well, he just capitulated there, so we can, you're not going to be allowed to distribute music anymore, and I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now. So.
What you just said about how everyone's mad. So now, I've never been in a band. I've never been in a band. I've only had, people that I've hired. We become friends, but there's still there's this boss/employee.
Contracted musicians. You're in charge of them.
And I will say that I thankfully I don't feel like I've ever been in a scenario where everyone's mad. Most of the time I'm mad, and my band's like, "Hey man, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's all right." Like they're usually the ones who are like, "Tom, you're mad for no reason." But it's interesting how I hear about other bands. When people are in bands, everyone's mad. But when it's like people like me who have a hired gun scenario, I rarely ever have anything like that. Yeah. But I've been on tour with a couple of other artists where like that has happened. Like everyone's just mad at each other, and it almost doesn't make sense why.
Doesn't.
Yeah, and so it's actually one of the reasons why I'm so hesitant to even want to tour with any other artists, unless I'm going to be riding. Like, hey, we got our van, we'll follow you. And we're both just doing our thing separately together, rather than try to intertwine it all, because I feel like that can cause strife and issues and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, when I went to with another artist, like people who know me know, like I rarely eat fast food. Like once a month, I might like splurge and eat Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
But I may be overweight, but I'm very health conscious.
Yeah.
As far as what I put in my body, as far as like I want to eat real food. I don't want this fast food stuff. Because I'm trying to avoid having to be one of those people who wake up every morning and take 6 medications.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know, and I've been blessed to do well on my physicals and things like that. So, you know, when I'm on tour with other artists and they're just like, we're going to Popeyes. I'm like, well, I don't eat that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not going to. It causes drama.
Of course.
You know.
In little stuff like that, it's always like something seemingly insignificant.
Right.
And
but
it's
when
always...
when you're the boss and you're like, hey, where do you guys all want to eat that's not fast food?
Yes.
They'll 90% of the time all recommend something that they're, you know, that they'll all agree on, and I'm usually good with. So hey, everyone wins, and that's good. It's also I think there's different rules in that scenario that make life happier. Maybe, you know.
I think it's really important to hire your band members. I've found in the band situation where, you know, everyone is supposed to have buy-in to the band. It's like no one's getting paid here, but there is somebody in charge. It's a weird dynamic. Usually it's one person. Sometimes it's two if it's a sibling situation, but it's usually one person. And then what I've found is that, and usually that one person, in this case it was me, doing all the booking, doing the majority of the work. It's kind of like it seemed like a factory worker situation where everyone's mad at the manager because they don't feel like they're doing any of the work. And it was like, well, the manager booked the shows, the manager developed the relationships, put everything together. So people would, you know, band members get frustrated with like, oh, I'm going to talk to the promoter to make sure we get a check so everyone can get their own check and get paid. But, you know, they're getting ticked at you because you weren't helping load in for an hour, but you were helping everybody get their money, which is why they agreed to do just stuff like that. Yeah. And then sometimes that'll carry over. I remember there was I'm not putting anyone on blast, and I haven't told anyone this story. This is crazy. But I remember, I think after one or two of our shows, like just tensions were high because it's little drama stuff, right? No one wants, you know, they invite you to go to fast food. And you're like, I don't do fast food. Yeah. Creates a little bit of drama. It just is what it is. Human beings do that, right? But I remember this one situation I got like, someone gave me like $60 worth of Starbucks cards. So I'm giving them out to the band members as we go into Starbucks. And I remember one by one, they just like grabbed it out of my hand, didn't even look me in the eye. And just like stuff like that, which, I mean, like I look back now and my buddy, one of my buddies in the band, he was like, dude, man, that was not cool. Like, and I think I was just concerned with trying to get it done, get everyone paid, get everyone, you know, so they can do their rent and everything. And it was a 2.5-week tour, but for me, it was one of those things I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do band thing again. And then I got into a band shortly after with my brother, and it was like, it wasn't as dramatic crazy, but it was still like, oh, this is why I'm not going to do a band thing, and why I found just success with hiring musicians. I found that when, you know, everyone understands their role, you know, everyone's, you know, getting paid, getting a meal.
Do you think that's why most successful bands early in the process had a manager early? Because, I mean, I feel like a lot of bands, very few, have someone who's in the band, who's actually like going to be the guy on stage, out on the road, handling a lot of things, saying yes to things, no to things, and not being that buffer. Do you think there's a correlation between that?
I mean, I think there can be a buffer. I still think the drama that happens internally within the band is usually within the band. The manager, unless it's like a solo pop artist, isn't, you know, usually in that little core unit and stuff. And, you know, and like, it's intense when you're on the road. You travel 2,500 miles, you get pulled over, go through the night. Like people get frustrated at things they shouldn't. You know, I don't handle a situation well as the manager of that band, regardless of whether I'm like the lead vocalist. Like, yeah I got to do that, but I'm also like, I'm tour managing. I'm dealing with like personalities. I'm dealing with my own internal issues that I'm projecting on other people. Yep. And they're all doing the same thing. So it's kind of this crazy mess. Like it was, man, it was a wild time. But it made me realize I was like, I don't know if the band thing's for me. I think I'm going to hire musicians. And so when we got to do some shows for King and Country, Danny Gokey, it was like, cool. Like we're going to do like a contract, like show opportunity for each band member, and they're going to know exactly what their role is, and what their role isn't, and it's just worked well.
And I think though, not that I can experience this, but I would feel like if I went into a band thing, especially on the road, I would probably do a similar thing where like everyone knows this is what your responsibility is. Because what's worked well for me as a solo artist who hires people, and literally, I am willing to. Like I would give anybody the names to everyone I've ever played for me, and if any one of them would argue this, I would be shocked. Yeah. But there's nothing that I've ever asked anyone else to do that I haven't already showed them. I'll do myself. Yeah. Or if for some reason there's something else that they're doing show day that is important and key that we didn't expect, where I'm not the one who's moving into that spot to take care of it. Yeah. You know. But I've also been smart enough to go like, okay, cool. You know, I have one guy who's typically, he's going to be the greeter. So like when we show up at a church, people always want to run right to me. Yeah. I'm a weird guy. When I show up after hours being in the van, I'm not ready right away to be, and I call it being in artist mode. Yeah. I'm not ready for that. I mean, but
somebody's got to be there to talk to him.
So I usually have a designated person who's like, hey, go tell him I'm tour manager. Yeah. Any questions about anything. Yeah. Because I'm typically my own, like tech guy. So I'm the one who's setting up the lights, setting up the sound. That's my thing. Yeah. And that's very cerebral. That's very in here that I have to stay in here. There's a process. So I can't help it, but I visually sometimes come across the wrong way when they're like, hey, what time do you guys want to do lunch? And meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out why that light ain't working. The last thing I'm thinking about is lunch. Yeah. So it's like, hey, so like Chris, or at one point I had somebody named Jordan. It was like, Chris, Jordan, you're the first guy out of the van. Go intercept. Hey, man, any questions? Forward it to me. I'm the guy. Tom's going to be handling some pretty technical stuff, so he gets easily stressed out, so come to me. Yeah, yeah. Cool. Now, if they do come to me, they were already told Tom could be a little stressed out. Yeah. He's okay. It's just his process, and that has worked well. They know.
They set that up in advance.
Pastor was waiting for us outside, beeline for that. Yes. We'll stop the van like midway through the parking lot. He'll get out and run over to him. That's awesome. And also, it'll give me a chance to be like, okay, I'm not going to get into it with a bunch of questions. That's so good, dude.
Well, that's just I think, maturity of having done life and like, how to manage situations like that. I was like, I think I was 24, 25. And I'm like, I don't know. We're all crazy, intense. Like, and then like none of us knew how to handle anything. Everyone in that band, myself included, was like extremely immature.
Well, that's the thing.
It usually is. That's how it works.
I think 18 to 25-year-old me, see, I'm blessed. I got started doing this whole thing in my 30s. Yeah. And I'm much calmer now. I'm still pretty intense, but I'm much calmer of a person than I once was. But 18 to 23-year-old me probably would be in prison right now if I had been on the road.
Oh my gosh.
Because I had just such a short fuse. Yeah, yeah. Or I'd either be in prison or like would have been injured badly by somebody. Yeah. And so I'm kind of blessed to be, at least now I sort of have the, there's I call it the young bull, old bull mentality. Yeah, young bull's ready to fight everybody. Old bull's like, we'll just kind of chill and see what happens. And I'm sort of in that mode. And I'm just kind of like, all right, cool. Or just willing to look at myself and go, all right, I know what I'm bad at. I need to make sure I have people around me that are willing to go, hey man, watch it. Watch how you're being right now. Be careful. Yeah. Because I don't even know. And I've literally had, like, my wife will even say, like, you in a good mood? I'm like, yeah, why? She goes, it's hard to tell. I'm like, I'm doing that again.
That thing.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm doing that again. How do I? And what it is, it's just because I'll be in a good mood, but if I'm deep in thought about a process or something I'm really trying to remember or whatever, my face goes to like, and people are just like, "What's the matter? You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why? What's the matter?"
But it's on your face, though.
But it's on the face.
It's on your face. Yeah.
You know, and it could be it. You know, I mean, I was good in one thing. I was good in sports was game face, man. Just, you know, I was very good at that. So excited, nervous as heck, but like. You know, but it's an interesting battle. I think being an artist, even off stage, just dealing with it all. I think either something's really, really wrong with all of us that want to do this. Or
we're insane. Yeah, artists are crazy. I was telling that to another writer the other day. I was like, artists, we're all insane. Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about some type of situation, intense songwriter situation. It's like, yeah, because we're bonkers. Like, yeah, we're feeling everything really intensely. We are reactive. We are emotional. That's why we're able to do what we do. I mean, if we weren't like that, the music probably wouldn't be as interesting. I think that affects everything in ways we don't fully understand, but it's that unpredictability. Obviously, we need to learn to like manage and deal with our insanity, but you know, you also need it to a certain degree. Well, you need that chaos.
I think it's artists, comedians, and I'd even argue professional athletes. We're all insane.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I talk about Tom Brady. Tom Brady's he's nuts. That man is insane. Yeah. but he uses it in a positive way. Yeah. He's obsessed with greatness. He's obsessed with being better. Yeah. He's a guy who literally he will tell his coaches, first thing you're going to tell me out in a meeting is what I did wrong. Do not sit here and tell me how, hey, good job, Tommy. Great. Let's talk about, no. Go, hey, Tom, you missed, on 7 plays, you missed a wide open guy.
Wow.
You know, he wants that because he wants to, well, next week it better be only 3.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who has every reason to sit back and be like, I'm the greatest. But see, so that's insanity. Yes, I'm kind of cut from that cloth. I'd rather hear what I did wrong after a show than, or because I was part of a church worship for a while, very recently, where after every service, people walking up, sounded good, and it was just literally like nails on a chalkboard for me.
It's like I know I wasn't sounding that good.
Yeah, I know I wasn't sounding that good. And it's like when you tell me how good it sounds, it takes this desire to be better.
Yeah.
And it just sort of like it blurs it, and it's not as clear cut of being better. You know, like I don't care if it's when I take a stage, when I'm in a songwrite, when I'm doing a podcast. Like I want every one of them to be better.
Yeah.
Because that's just how I am. So I'd rather hear how awful I am, or than hear how great I am.
Yeah.
Then it's weird though. You want that applause on stage after, because I feel like on stage it's like, here's where I'm at. What do you think?
Yeah.
And, they love it. Cool. But I know all the ingredients, and I know I can make this thing better later. Exactly. So let's see how it goes. And I think that you can probably identify with this. One of the great things about being an artist is you treat every show like it's your last, but you know there's going to be another one. And you learn, if you're applying it every time, then it's a win. And I mean, I love performing. I love doing all that stuff. But I think ultimately, though, the craziness for me is like where I get lost in all of it is always wanting to just – I often just worry about like, okay, cool. 5 people came up and talked about how like they heard Keep Fighting. And, man, it's just thank you. It meant so much. And I'm like, dude, I'm in my head driving home, I'm thinking – what could I do differently so that next time it's 10 people that come up? Yeah. What about the one person that it just didn't connect with for some reason that I wish it did? What could I do to change that? Yeah. And maybe the answer is nothing, but that's something I get hung up on.
Yeah.
And then if I see that one person in the crowd that I'm like, why weren't they interested? Yeah. Why were they just not feeling it? And you feel like, man, that's the person I want to reach, and it's not working. Maybe I should just give up. Right? Everyone else is like, I want your T-shirt, sign my this, and this is so great. Why aren't you on the radio and all these things? And it's like, but that one person who is just like,
you want that Facebook, one person,
whatever. yeah, like why didn't I get him?
Yeah.
I don't understand. There is a craziness.
There
to
is.
it.
I think that's just people who are really competitive in general. I think you're a real competitive person, and artists who are, you know, they're driven to succeed. They're gonna be trying to do that extra little thing to tweak the set, and in order to make it better the next time. I think in order to actually make that improvement, you have to think like that. But the problem is, in order to actually implement the changes, it has to be in your mind all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And then you bring it home to your family or your kids and your wife, and your wife's like, why are you look like you're occupied at the dinner table? It's because I'm thinking about this thing that I didn't do right in my production or my show the night before. Yeah. And it's so tough to like, okay, I have to turn that off, but you kind of can't really turn it off. Yeah. So you just learn just how to like manage it, at least for me.
I have had to... I have had to manage that because, you know, I am highly competitive. But I don't see other artists necessarily as competition. However, I might feel that way if, you know, someone's like, hey, there's a new festival that popped up. And it's like, oh, they're only going to take one indie. Yeah. And I'm like, you're emailing them too, huh? I want the slot, you know. But, you know, I'll be honest. I've never told you this. And I'm going to tell you this now. Let's do it. Yeah.
On a podcast for everybody to hear.
On a podcast.
We're ready to go.
But, dude, I at one point just sort of looked at like, all right, every independent artist trying to do what I'm trying to do, I'm gonna crush them all. Yeah. Now I didn't really know you, and we had crossed paths. I think for the first time we went to it was some kind of songwriting 3-day thing with Full Circle Music. You and your brother were there, but we didn't really interact. That's right. We like crossed paths a couple times.
I know that's what I remember. Like,
I remember the chairs being the most uncomfortable thing in the world. I think you and your brother went across the street to go like hang out at the bookstore to sit in comfortable chairs.
Something like that.
It was awful. I went and sat in my car for like 2 hours one day because I'm like, those chairs were just intense, worst,
and you're uncomfortable. It's like
but you know, so the first time we really talked was actually I'm wearing the shirt from this show,
Rock the World.
Holiday
World, man.
Holiday World. That was the hottest day of the year.
You and me are on the back of the T-shirt.
Yeah,
dude.
we are on the back of the
That's
shirt. Yeah, dude. Honestly, it brought a tear to my eye that day, though. For that was the first time I saw my name like in the same size font as like some big artists.
Oh yeah,
it was really wow, this is amazing.
It's a moment.
Yeah,
it was a moment.
And but it was a weird day. It was first of all, I don't know if I was just really grumpy or what, because
you seemed kind of grumpy. I saw you from a distance. So.
Well, I lost my. I thought I lost my wallet that day. Long story.
Oh,
and I was dressed in my music costume.
I'm wearing my music costume. So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you post this, you can check out my music costume. Otherwise, I'd be wearing shorts and a t-shirt. So.
Kind of like me right now.
Exactly like you right now.
So, like we're dressed like dads of Walmart.
Dads of Walmart. My music costume is a little tighter than it should be because you know, it's like dad bod, but I still think I can fit into it.
Well, I lost a bunch of weight. I was actually that day I was at my heaviest. I was the heaviest I'd ever been in my life then.
Wow.
And yet that day I was wearing you know, black jeans, like a lightweight hoodie.
It was so hot.
It was so miserable.
And we had to haul our gear
from the front of the place.
All the way through.
It
just kind of feels awkward. Like
it was, people looking at you. And then there was that hill going up.
Oh man. Yes. I've done Holiday World twice. I know that hill.
And so I thought I lost my wallet that day. I made 3 trips back and forth from that stage to the van, which is probably, I'd say, about a 2-mile walk each way.
Yeah, that's about right.
So it's like 90, probably 100 degrees plus in show clothes, just to find that my wallet is in the place that my guitar player, I told him to look, and he claims to have looked, and it was there. But because all he had to do was take the suitcase that it was in out and look in. Because I asked him to do that. And so I didn't check it when I walked myself because he had already told me it looked. So I walked back. I'm asking people.
Oh, no.
I finally walked back again, ripped the suitcase out, and it's right there.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm just like,
So I've gone back and forth.
It wasn't a good a good day. So, but we had met that day. And you know, again, I'm in highly competitive mode. And there was another band there. I'm not going to mention the name of the band, but who I feel is probably on the really far end of the competitive spectrum, to where, and I had a few bad experiences in discussing things with that with that particular band.
Yeah.
So I was already in this mood, and I meet you, and you're just like, "Hey, man, it's so good to meet you, man. It's awesome." And he shows you play. I'm so excited to see you play, and I'm just like, "Who does this guy think he is? He's being supportive and nice. What's this guy's deal? I don't think I like him. Yeah, I'm like, I don't think I like this guy." And then we watched your set, and I wanted to hate it. I wanted to be like, "Yo, this guy," and I'm like, "Dude, this guy's pretty cool. All right, he's doing his thing.
Just do the thing, man.
Cool." All right. I'm like, whatever. And I was just like, what? But it was a weird moment for me to be like, I'm going to crush everyone. And it's like, hey, he's really nice, supportive. I don't know what to do. Because I'm used to, here's the thing, even big name artists, I'm used to, oh, hey, guys, nice to meet you. Yeah, right on. That's all I have to say. Or they can't get away from you fast enough. And it's like, guy like you's all like, yeah, man, hey, I heard your new song. I think you named it, but I think at that time I had Keep Fighting out. No, His Name is Jesus was the song I put out.
That's what the one.
You're like, dude, His Name is Jesus, man, came out great. It's like, you knew one of my songs. It was like, who's this guy think he is? It's like researching me. It was a weird. Now again, that was a weird crazy.
I'm trying to okay, hey, watch out. Like he's gonna sneak in here all nice and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I'm used to just getting blown off by everybody, and I'm just like, who's this guy think he is? But then like later on, I'm just like, no, man. And then we wrote together, and I'm like, dude. He and I are like the same, man. Like we see a lot the same. We see a lot different. Yeah. And I've learned a lot from your perspective. Yeah. And, but it was just, so it was an interesting day for me because I'm just kind of like, literally it was in my head too. I'm like dying from the heat, looking for my wallet. And I'm like, oh, I think he is, man. That was his deal. And I'm like,
just positive? Like, what?
And that's just always been.
Are people like that? It's like,
because
some people are. Yeah. Not everybody is.
Not everybody.
Not everybody. And you'd interacted with some folks, I'll use a plural there, that I also am aware of that it wasn't a great interaction. Yeah. And stuff. And so it's like, wait, is this dude is kind of in this camp? And it's like, yeah, but I'm not. I promise you I am so not.
No, I feel you. And it's one of those things where, it's definitely, it's a weird world out there because I think
being cryptic.
Yeah, we are. But that's the thing. I one of the things that might be a common occurrence on this podcast is just the truth is a lot of fans don't understand, especially us indies, how hard this is for us. Yeah. I mean, a good amount of the time, and again, like I mean, I'm not ashamed to say, like the guys from Seventh Time Down. Been awesome, super supportive, very helpful in a lot of ways. But there's a lot of ways that, because I'm not a signed artist, they can't help me. Yeah, yeah. But they've been just, if I need advice, I have a question, shoot. If I needed someone to track drums for something, they're willing to help. That's great. Like, that's been great. But that's been a rare occasion where that hasn't come with a price tag. Mm-hmm. A lot of these guys are out monetizing the up-and-comers or the indies that are trying to make it really, and a lot of times they're not getting anything really in return for that. It's just they're getting the facade of, oh, they're working with them, or, oh, this artist believes in them when they don't. Yeah. And, like JJ Weeks has been amazing as just, I mean, literally, I've been able to text him and go, hey, man, when you get a chance, can we talk? And because he's a guy, when I've met him and talked, he's like, dude, you remind me of me 20 years ago or 15 years ago. He's like, and here's what I learned through it. And I'm always just like, teach me. That's awesome. Because I want to get there.
JJ's great.
He's an incredible guy. Like I want to get him on his podcast.
Oh, that would be great.
Sounds like he's willing to be on it soon. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I got some other cool guests coming up. I'd rather not say who they are just in case something falls through, but I do have some other amazing guests. But that's the thing. It's like I really want people. I don't care if they're other writers that I know or other like artists wanting to come up, or just fans to realize like, guys, sometimes we do a good job of making this look easy, and it's not. There's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of, why did that person treat me that way? Why did that person not, why did that person blow me off? Why did, why does this writer want literally the same amount that I pay for rent to write with them? Yeah. They don't know that. Yeah. They just think everything's like, hey, we're all live in Nashville and we're all a bunch of friends and everyone just kind of hangs out with each other and we sit in circles and worship. While that is a thing for some people. Yeah. For me, I haven't. If that exists, show me. I'll show up. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I mean, and I have been to a few things where people invited me over and we've all hung out and worshiped. That's been great. But usually what that ends up turning into is that it ends up turning into something that feels more like hey, we're trying to form a clique here. Yeah. And it's like, I don't vibe with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I've found in this town, and it is definitely unique to this town, is there is this everybody projects like, hey, community, hey, we all love each other, we all support one another, but that's not always what ends up happening. I've found that, I mean, that hasn't happened a lot. I think that support that people project on social media, oh, hey, we're all supporting one another, it only goes so far. But I think sometimes it only can go so far because, like, I've had times when I can't respond to someone on social media, and I'm not a big deal, but I get people who are interested in writing or working on a project, and it's like, I just don't have the capacity to handle this. I just don't have, some people could say, the bandwidth, right, to manage this right now. But sometimes, but I try to message everyone back. It's like, sometimes I haven't even gotten messages back. So it's like, I make a point to be like, all right, at the very least, I'm going to reply like a normal human being because I think that's important. I don't want to ever project that I'm just this musician that's just out of touch. And not that any, the people that haven't responded to me, not that they're just like total jerks or anything. The ones that I'm thinking of aren't. It's just something that I want to try to do and maybe change the culture of, to where like I'm never going to be such a big deal that someone can't, that I can't reply back to them. It may take a few days. Yeah.
I mean, I do. Yeah. I do my best the same way. I mean, for the most part, I kind of pride myself on being a solid communicator. I'm getting worse at it lately just because I've been so busy with a lot of things.
It's getting better now. It's going downhill.
No, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I had a rehearsal yesterday, and like, the guitar player knew for like probably 3 weeks he was going to be playing for me. Yeah. And he hits me up like 2 nights ago and was like, hey, man, what are the songs? It's like, I never sent you the songs. Are you kidding me? And I'm better than that. Yeah. I normally am more organized than that. But also, I now I turned it into a thing. I'm like, wow, it's my test, man. I wanted to see if you'd reach out. I was joking with him, and I'm like, yeah, I wanted to see if you'd reach out, but also I wanted to see how solid you'll be. And he was just like, oh, right on. And I'm like, no, that's not really what happened. I apologize for being late, but
messing with him a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And he's a cool guy. Is a new guy I just brought on. His name's Jonathan Denny. He's recently played with Natasha Owens for a handful of shows. Cool. And, I call him Galifianakis because he literally looks like Jack Galifianakis. Oh, Zach Galifianakis.
Zach Galifianakis. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know a Jack. Yeah. Maybe he's out there. But.
Yeah, Zach Galifianakis. Yeah. But he kind of reminds me of him a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I would say taller, more handsome, but definitely has the Galifianakis vibe. Yeah. It's just the beard, to be honest. But super, super solid guy. And but yeah, as far as my communication, it's like, oh man, I'm getting worse at it. And maybe that's a good thing, because I've had people hit me up, and there's just one of those things where sometimes people want something from you that you have to say no to, and then they get mad that you said no. And sometimes you have to weigh the, like, well, is it worth this person being mad or hurt because I said no, or do I just ignore it? Yeah. And it's interesting because at the same time, I get it. You don't want to lie, because I've had people do the same thing to me, and I never liked how it felt anyway. Yeah. And personally, because I know how I am, I'd rather someone go, man, I just don't have the time, or I don't have the bandwidth. Yeah. I mean, or I've flat out had people go, man, I just don't write with indie artists. Yeah. Or, hey, man, we don't tour with indie artists. It's not really worth it for them. Actually, that was the most honest thing I ever had said to me, was a major artist who's killing it right now. I talked to him about it. I was like, hey, man, what would it take to come out with you? He goes, man, he's like, I just typically don't take artists on tour anymore because it's not worth it for them. Yeah. He's like, my manager wants me to charge them a certain amount, and that's just not fair because they're probably not even going to make that. He's like, I just don't want to do that to them. That's good. And he goes, even if they're willing, he's like, it's just, and the truth is, in the Christian music industry, and this is just an opinion, and there are people who have argued this, but I don't feel like, because look, I've played festivals on main stage as a quote an opener, even a mid-card act with some of the biggest names. It's done zero for me other than to be able to go to a to be able to go to a church or another festival and say,
tour,
hey, I've played these with these people, so it gives you clout.
It's a legitimizer.
But it's done, because we always see these stories about like these bands that have come up at some point in their life and their career, and they've been like, oh, hey, this band, they opened for so-and-so, and then this happened.
Yeah.
So people, I think, myself included, sort of thought, well, man, if I can work my way into those scenarios, I'm going to do that.
And the Christian music industry, you're charging, when we charge and like put in like money into like the ministry thing.
Yeah.
Even if you're in a church context, whatever thing it is, it complicates stuff.
It does.
It just does. It makes it really weird, and it's strange because a worker needs to get paid their wages for what they're doing. But when you're doing ministry, one, I think the expectation of fans, and I've run into this, I've talked to a lot of people about this, is, well, this is ministry, so it should be free. Paul didn't do any ministry for free. Like, he had supporters.
Right.
But there's an expectation out there, oh, you should just do it for free. And sometimes I see it with pastors who are looking to bring artists and bands in for like a ministry night or worship or concert. And it's like, well, we can't pay you this. And then they don't just leave it at that. They're like, well, why don't you just do it for free? And it's this expectation. And I'm sure you've probably run into this because I've run into it. That's one side of it. And then the other side is when it does get really weird of like, you're trying to connect with other, whether it's a pro writer, just other artists and writers in Nashville. And it's like, okay, well, I kind of want to get paid for this. If I'm going to write with you, if I'm going to do anything with you. And it's like, man, I just kind of want to hang. But then you talk about just being honest, where you've had an artist say, I don't write with indies. Look, it just doesn't make sense to take indies out on the road. My manager, wants me to charge a band like per show, per night. I don't feel cool about that. So we're just not going to do that at all. Where at least, there's honesty. I think like if we could all just be straight up when someone asks us something that we cannot do for any number of reasons, being honest with them and being real, like, hey, I can't do this. This is the reason why, and if they get ticked off about it, like that's on them at the end of the day. I think it's like me doing little stuff like that, even though I'm not a big deal. I don't have huge influence, but I think us all doing stuff like that helps move stuff forward in a very small way. But it's depressing at the same time too, because we've run into similar situations.
Well, and I think that so early in my music dealings, like before I let's call it turn pro, but let's call it I guess just when it was just something I did for fun for the most part. It was or it was just an outlet of like, hey, we can put together special events at churches and go sing at them. This could be fun.
Yeah.
During those days, it was kind of like it was easy because it was it was just a low stakes game.
Yeah.
You're singing other people's songs. You're just sort of out there just bringing something different. What I always did even back then is I tried to sing the songs no one else would be singing. Yeah. Because I always enjoyed the CCM side of music. Yeah. I always there were artists like Matt Maher, Casting Crowns, Mercy Me that like they were the we like to do the songs that weren't on the radio. They were on the record. Yeah. If you listen to the record, it's like that's where some of the best music by these artists live is on their record. So let's do those. Because one, people may have never heard them. It'll stand out. It'll be different, and it'll be fun. Yeah, yeah. And it's nice when someone doesn't know a song, they can't tell if you're doing it justice. Yeah. If it's the same key, they just don't recognize it. So I kind of I look at all that, and then I see where things are now, where there's much higher stakes. There's and there's this expectation of like you said, where if it should be church, if it's church or if it's ministry, it should be free. And I just sort of always was like, well, I just took a big step back from all of it and took a good look at the situation and said, you know what? So many churches now have such high quality worship teams. So if they want worship and ministry in that vein, they already got it. Yeah. So how can what I do bring value? Yeah. So I heard Mercy Me, Bart from Mercy Me one time talked about how how he was at a festival one time and like some artist said like something about like, hey, us artists are worship leaders, and his response internally was like, I'm not a worship leader. He's like, and this isn't church right now. Yes. He's like, we're not walking with the broken. We're not, we're not doing life with you. No. We're not holding you accountable. He's like, what this is this is an hour of entertainment or hour plus of entertainment with the gospel in it. Yeah. And that's okay.
It's Christian entertainment.
And hearing him of all people say that, it's like, wow, like he hit that's what I've been feeling. That's exactly what this is for me. Yes. This is an hour and a half of entertainment with the gospel in it. Or an hour and a half of entertainment that, points you to where hope is. Yes. That's it. Yeah. And we might sing a worship song. And to me, you don't worship God by standing in an aisle with your hands raised to your favorite worship song. You worship God by living your life with excellence, using your gifts, using your talents, using your abilities, loving other people, listening well, like living that, just the example of Jesus. That's how you worship. That's just my, and there was a quote that I heard once where the Christian shoemaker doesn't honor God by putting Christian symbols on his shoes that he sells, but he makes the best shoes he can make. Exactly. So I kind of was like, that's the arena I want to live in. Yeah. And what I've noticed is the industry is definitely leaning more worship oriented. Oh, 100%. Yeah. People now, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, I understand why. Your biggest clientele and consumer of Christian music, from everything from the songwriters to the composers and all that, is the church, CCLI, and that's the goal. Yeah. Because sure, radio is really hard to get on, even if you are an established artist. But if you do worship, dude, hundreds of thousands of churches could play your song 3 services a day. Exactly. And you're going to make more money. So that's why that's gone that direction more.
And people are listening to it on radio too, because those worship songs are going bonkers on radio. They've been doing that, I guess, for the past, 8 years? Right. 6, 7.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Tone Junkie TV, your best source for Kemper, Helix, and impulse response profiles. Check them out on YouTube, all social media at Tone Junkie TV. Also check them on the web store at tonejunkiestore.com. Use promo code Golly to get 50% off site-wide. That's right, 50% off site-wide, tonejunkiestore.com. As an indie, I always went, well, I'm going to double down harder on doing the CCM pop thing because they're not doing this in church. So now when I come to a church and go, hey, I want to come on a Saturday or Sunday night and do this special night, here's my music. They're like, oh, cool, the gospel's in this. There's hope in this. But it's not what we do in the Sunday morning. Yeah. This is worth doing. Yeah. This is worth having and paying for because it's different. So, but we're still in that mode where now, of course, I feel like pre-COVID, my strategy was working. I had more bookings January of 2020 than I had ever. Wow. For the year already out. Normally in January, I'm like looking at the empty calendar going, what am I going to do? But it's like the end of January and I got 13 shows on the books already. Wow. And I haven't even tried to book. It's just their repeat businesses, festivals, start and email me back. Oh, yeah. We wanted to book you last year, but we're already full. I'm like, well, I didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah. Cool, let's come out. And then COVID happened. And then now we're in a spot where, like, my favorite thing to do is some artists love the recording studio. Some artists are just like, I need to write 100 songs a year. I know you're one of those guys, you love writing. And
I love the studio. Yeah. And
I I don't hate writing. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the hang of the writing.
Yeah. It's probably why we talk an hour and a half and then we write for the like an hour.
Yeah. And then half the time we already talked about all the good stuff that would have made a great song. But it's like, well, we talked about that already. It's like, it's over. That's it. But, we've written some cool stuff together. And matter of fact, there's a song called Serenity that it's just been delayed. It's coming out. We wrote it.
Is it, Tom? Is it coming out?
It is coming out.
Okay, I believe you.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I love that song.
Yeah, so the one of the people that produced the vocals for me I wanted him to be available. He just wasn't, and he does such an incredible job of my stuff that I'm like, I'll wait for you.
Yes, of course.
I don't care if it's 2022.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because the song is if it's delivered correctly. Is going to be huge, and I
think that song is going to do really great things for you touring and just everything.
I think so too.
Wise,
so I want to save it up for when I have the energy and the country is we're in a weird phase right now. Tell me what you think about this. Like, what do you think about this? Like, because now it's like things were getting back to normal, and now suddenly there's Delta, Gamma, Epsilon variants, and like
all the variants.
Yeah, like coronavirus is actually an alien, and the mothership is coming. We need to lock down, like, because I was going to do a September tour, and I've got shows that they're now like, you know what, Tom, we don't know what's going to happen,
oh, wow.
So let's just hold off.
See, it's affecting you directly.
Oh yeah,
as an independent artist.
Yeah, big time. Now, I did an acoustic tour during COVID.
Yeah,
and it was a successful tour, but it was different, man.
Yeah,
I don't know if did you go out on the road at all during COVID?
Oh no, I've been in the studio. I basically switched from. I'll say I put pause on the performance side, which I enjoy it, but. And really focused on the studio. I'd already been writing a ton, and I had artists start to reach out about producing. I'm like, no, this is the direction I think I'm supposed to go. I enjoy it, so I didn't do any touring.
I mean, dude, it was such a different vibe that like that. And now I know I said earlier, like I haven't really experienced the whole like everyone's angry at each other, but like at one point, I mean, I essentially did that particular tour. I had another artist on, and I mean, we left the driveway with 4. We came back with 3. Yeah. Like I had to send someone home during the tour because just his personal life stuff back home was weird. The tour was stressful for him. Having to wear a mask was like freaking him out. So I ended up having, we sat down. We're like, man, do you want to go home?
Yeah.
Because it's not working for us. So like either you need to kind of chill or you got to go home, but I'll leave it up to you. Like I didn't fire him. I was just like, look, I care about you, man.
Yeah.
And we're still friends to this day. He still played for me I called a couple people that know him, and I'm like, dude, this is what's going on with him. What do I do? And they were like, yeah, that doesn't sound like him, man. I don't think he's okay. Wow. So we sat him down and there was a couple little things that I had done that had rubbed him the wrong way that he even admitted probably normally wouldn't. Okay. But he was just hypersensitive, and it just killed the vibe for us, and he was struggling. So he's like, well, if I wanted to go home, how would that work? So I'm like, well, I'm going to pay you what I owe you so far for being out here. And I'll tell you what, I have this duty. If I got you out here, it's my job to get you home.
Back, yeah.
So I'm like, dude, I was like, I want you to rent a car, and I'll reimburse you.
Yeah.
So we took him that next morning, and it was great. We hung out all night. We had a good night.
Yeah.
Drove him in the morning to the Enterprise. He got a car. He drove home. Yeah. Went to my house. Picked up his car. It was good. It was done well. But it was the first time I've ever had to do that. And again, the COVID restrictions made things weird. I mean, normally I like to unwind. We go out to a restaurant after a show if we can. Maybe a Buffalo Wild Wings. Just relax. Can't do that. Yeah. You got to go to a hotel. Everyone's wearing masks. Or some churches, like, nobody's wearing masks. And I'm kind of like, look, I'm fine with the whole no mask thing.
Yeah.
But I felt a responsibility to go, you know what? I need the ability to say in my heart, I did everything as I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
Because I'm going from this city to that city to this city to that city.
Yeah.
And that was probably the worst tour I've ever done as far as just how it felt at the end.
Yeah.
When I got home, I was just like, I was so happy to be home. I was so glad it was over because like we stayed at a host home and, you know, because during that time we're supposed to social distance. We're not supposed to be around a lot of people. Well, we wake up in the morning and all of a sudden like, they're like, hey, breakfast is upstairs. Well, we come upstairs like in pajamas, like unkept because we're just like,
That's how it goes.
It's just them, right?
Yeah.
No, they got 15 people walking the front door to have breakfast with us. And we're just like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. I know that. I've had that before.
And it's like, we're
awkward.
supposed to be social distancing. So I'm just like, well, yeah, we got places to be. I got to go get, which is true. We had to go to a Best Buy and pick up a new power supply for something. I needed to get my van tires looked at. So we had things to do that day.
Yeah, of course.
But in their mind, our next show's only an hour away. You should hang out with us and sit around our living room and play worship with us. They had expectations, and we're like, we're supposed to be socially distancing. I got 7 more cities to go to. We're supposed to be doing this. And, you know, that church, they saw us as ungrateful. They saw us as, you know, all business. We took advantage of them, and I'm not welcome to play there anymore.
Man,
it's like that's never happened.
Yeah,
it's like, and I think COVID made
it's another thing that just changes up everything, and it's a variable. It's a wrench that's just thrown into the machine, and like. It makes everything more complicated. I mean, I found that even with doing production and writing sessions, I had working with lots of different artists who had different perspectives, and it was like, okay, cool. Well, I will wear a mask. People want to feel safe and feel comfortable. Yeah, I'll wear a mask.
Absolutely.
So that's what we were doing, but it was kind of interesting getting like different people's perspectives on it, and it was changing all the while. One person was opposed to mask this week, and then you know, like a month or two later, it's like, oh well, I think I'm going to wear a mask now, which is fine. Yeah, it was just weird.
Yeah, we were just trying to be like, okay, how can we be respectful to the next city we're going to? Yeah. Where, you know, we're going to be around people. We may not be able to social distance as well as we can here. Let's do that. Yeah. I mean, then the interesting thing was, so we did
Nobody wants to spread the thing. I don't want to spread it. You don't want to spread it? Jeez.
I mean, actually.
Maybe you do. I don't know. You super spreader, Tom?
Well, I don't know. Well, you know, and think about this. And actually... no, so I didn't hit Facebook to tell people I got COVID, but like about a month after that tour, I did get COVID. Yeah. I found out that COVID was even in my house. I barely had any symptoms. I had like a sinus infection. Yeah. So, and that was it. And if you remember, I found out my wife tested positive. I'm sitting in your studio.
In that studio.
Yeah, like this far from you. Yeah. I'm just like, hold on. I get a text from my wife. I tested positive. I'm like, bro, I think I should leave. Yeah. And you're just like, why, what's up? And I told you what happened. You're like, oh, well, I mean, you were like, it's up to you. You were like, it was, I'm not worried about it. I'm just like, yeah, it's probably better, man. I don't want, you know, and you didn't get it as a result. So
no, I mean, I tested. I mean, you know, my wife even got it, and I tested, you know, within the time frame that it would have been able to be. I don't know, what is the word, like intubate, that's not the right word.
Incubated,
something like that. And I tested negative, so I don't know, man. I'm like resistant to it. I don't know. But
so what's next for you, man? What's next for you in this season or in the future? What are you doing?
What am I doing? I got a new record coming out end of September, October.
Didn't you just put one out, or you've just been singles?
7 singles. Oh, no. How many? 6 singles. I've got 1, maybe 2 more that I'm dropping, and then I'm going to drop the full length, 14 tracks.
Right, okay.
September, October.
Yeah, because you keep dropping them,
killing
them, man. And
working Spotify, working the algorithm, man. Just trying to, like, keep it going up. And that's one strategy. There are different strategies. But so I'm going to drop the record. I've got some pop projects that I want to work on, like this kind of pop side band that I love. Just modern like pop music, not necessarily stuff that you hear on the radio, but more on the indie side of things. And I really want to dive into that. So it's just been a lot of music production. That's a side of what I've been doing, artist development and music production. So specifically songwriting for artists, helping artists become better songwriters, helping them get better songs for their records. I've always been passionate about that. I've had people who've helped me make my records better because they were more experienced and were able to help tell my story. So I've been doing that for the past, I would say, 2 years. And COVID, it was kind of an unexpected thing because I was like, well, I guess I got to go into this and I'm going to go all in because this is all I can do right now. Yeah. So it's music production, it's songwriting, potentially, Lord willing, a pub deal happens. Let's do that. Record deal, my stuff's a little not totally made for radio, but I'm okay with that.
Right.
If the forces align with radio
Sure.
and like what Christian audiences like and my music, what I like, great. That'll make sense. I don't know if that'll happen, and I'm okay with it because for me it was about building a fan base, through Spotify primarily is what we're focusing on. We're going to be diving into Apple Music probably soon, but and reaching people that way and being an encouragement. I am not your pastor, right?
Yeah.
I am not. Yeah. I'm coming in for one night. I'm coming in for one song that you're listening to, and you can help people by that, like doing that, but just by songs. I love the songs. And so if I get up some opportunities to play shows, like I will be, reaching out probably in the next, I don't know, 3 months or so to start setting up some stuff for 2022. But I'm not going to go hard with that because I think my main focus is like, if I end up doing any type of touring that's significant or like middle of the pack, it's going to be because I have songs that are doing really well on Spotify. And they're like, man, we love these songs. We want to bring you out. And then if that starts to roll, I'm just more of like, I do believe in like, I push forward really hard in songwriting, production, my art. But as far as like the shows, for me, it's like, those shows are going to happen as an extension of what I'm doing.
Is the real reason because you don't want to spend a lot of money on alternate music uniforms?
Yeah, you got it, man.
Yeah.
$60 per uniform can kind of add up.
It can add up quick.
And the sweat stains from like 95-degree performances and like when the sun's like literally facing you at 5 p.m.
Yep.
It's just too much.
You got to minimize. You got to watch the budget. So
minimize
the shows.
I can't do it. I don't know. If you maybe we can do some shows. We can go in on a music uniform budget.
Dude, we should totally do it.
Let's do it.
I'm in. We'll make
I
it
love
happen.
it.
2022.
That's it.
But man, I'm excited to man. And I always enjoy talking with you. This could easily be a 3-hour podcast. So
totally.
We're definitely gonna have you come back on again. We'll have John, and actually it'd be the dream episode. Be to have you and Jonathan Jackson, the actor, at the same time. I mean, how funny it would be?
A very successful Jonathan Jackson, just a Jonathan Jackson.
Should we go? Actually, should we go find like a homeless Jonathan Jackson and like
to make me look a little bit better? Sure. I mean, I'm fine. I think I can handle.
Yeah, until he shows you his backpack and he's like, "Look how much I make panhandling."
And it's
you're
more
like,
than me.
I've been doing it wrong.
And I'm like, why am I doing this thing?
Right.
Why am I doing music? I don't know.
What am I doing? It's like, hey, listen to my songs for free on this. And I just spent $8,000 on this piece of equipment to make them.
Yeah, listen to it as I get 0.0003.
Yeah,
something like that.
I will say this:
cents per stream.
I put myself in check one day because I've been proud of my streaming numbers.
Yeah,
I've been very proud of it.
Yeah,
I really haven't put a lot of effort or money into the streaming.
They've done well, man.
They've done well. However, I've ripped myself recently by realizing something. Just because your song gets on a playlist and gets a lot of streams doesn't mean that people are actually listening or even care.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are like, whoa, I've got 500,000 streams. Thank you for listening. And I would love to take a poll and like find where those listeners are and be like, do you have any idea who that even is? And a good amount of the time, I feel like that's sort of the downside. Spotify can make us look good, but is it really helping us?
It can be. I think when you start getting significant streaming numbers, I have never had as much as I have now.
Yeah.
I get texted I got my high school principal.
Oh, that's amazing.
Texted me because I came up on a playlist.
Yeah. Now that has happened to me too. And
so you've seen it. That means cool. That means that you're in an upper, I would say, streaming tier where it is starting to make a difference. You start to get into the upper 6 figures, start into 7-figure territory. Streaming number wise, you're becoming it's turning into legit marketing tool. And so that's what it really is. It's like it's ministry, but it's also like take that and you can use that for marketing. Because if you can actually bring people to, if you can convince a promoter that you're going to bring people to your shows based on streaming numbers, I mean, and that's a legit thing for major artists to do that, but they're in the, 10s, 20, 30 million. So yes, they are going to bring people in. I think with us, where we're kind of like, we're under, like we're getting real granular here, like 7 million or like a million or whatever. It's like, yeah, you can bring a decent amount in, but you really have to push kind of past that to where you can convince a promoter, like, look, I'm actually going to bring some people in random Kansas or Iowa or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just it. It's like you get a lot of these churches that just are so open to bringing in someone they've never heard of.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
And to be honest, there was a time where I think all of us go into this with this dream of playing arenas and Winter Jam, right? But man, I'll say it's always been a fun feeling for me.
Yeah.
Like to show up in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, that is like, and I'll bring my lights, my sound, and just the way we present what we do.
Yeah.
And they're like, thank you for bringing this to our little town.
That's so good.
Because they just feel like, man, we're forgotten about. No one comes here. So to them, they're like, dude, they're grateful. And okay, 100 people came, but that 100 people, Newsboys isn't coming to that church to come do this there.
Yeah.
Mercy Me's not coming there. So there's a space to operate in where you can do great things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not in front of millions or thousands, but at the end of the day, man, you can, and this is what I try to tell a lot of people, you can have a career playing shows in front of 40 people.
Yes.
100 people.
Absolutely.
It may not be what you imagined or dreamed, but the truth is in today's world, I don't see a ton of artists go from, hey, she was discovered at a church to she's playing Winter Jam or arenas.
Yeah.
In some cases, okay, maybe like an artist like Leanna Crawford, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Leanna Crawford, she got to go out and tour with Matthew West and do all that thing. But that just is to get her rolling. Now she's on her own. Now she's playing churches, smaller crowds. You got to hey, we got you here. We got you heard about. Now to go do it.
Yes.
So they still have to do what we're already doing.
100%.
And I've learned to just really love that.
Yeah.
Love that I can bring this. But I also, like I said, the insanity we talked about earlier, I used to think I needed to bring all that.
Yeah.
To where I've discovered, like, I can show up with just one guitar player.
That's it, yeah.
And an acoustic and just show up, do what we do.
And it makes a big deal for them. It means a ton.
Yeah.
When you come up, it's like, wow, they actually like care about my community.
Yeah.
When you're bringing that to them. I mean, it's a huge deal. You were like crushing it. Seriously, like pre-COVID, like tour. I mean, I remember seeing on social media, I'm like, okay, Tom's playing a lot of shows. Like this is the real deal. That is the music industry.
Yeah. And there was a time because of volume, there were shows that were like, yes, we want you to come in for full production. Great. They'd be able to pay a certain amount. So I could bring all that. Then there were some that, then in the process I can play a show here for free because well, it's on the way and they're going to give us somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
And and then I have Celebrate Recoveries that are like, man, we love the song Keep Fighting. We love the stories behind it.
Yeah.
My family suffered a loss due to a drug addiction years ago. So I would share like sort of from a survivor perspective of what it's like to lose someone, which I come to find out is rare that anyone stands up and goes, I lost someone to addiction and they meant the world to me and it killed it. This is what happened to our family after that person who thought they were worthless, is gone. And that seemed to really be like a lot of the Celebrate Recoveries and drug addiction ministries were like, dude, like there's a lot of, hey, I came to Jesus and he healed me and I'm not addicted anymore. Yeah. But there's a lot of people who are like, I came to Jesus and he didn't heal me. I still want to go out and smoke that or sniff that. I don't understand. Like, it's like, well, okay, or I don't think I'm worth all the trouble. And then it's like, then they get to hear this end of it of like what it was like to tell two little girls they weren't going to see their sister ever again.
Wow.
And it's like, imagine those little kids in your family who love you. And some of them are like, man, just no one ever said that.
Wow.
No one ever really made me think about that. It's like, whoa.
Maybe because you have a message. You, as an independent artist, have a specific voice and a specific message that's meant for certain people. And it's like, you look at it like, I've got to go out and find those people.
Yeah. Well,
You
I've
know.
learned this. One thing I can learn, and I get artists all the time who used to ask me, how do you book so many shows? And it's like, well, one, I mean, and I don't mean this arrogantly, but make relevant, modern sounding music.
Yeah.
If you're trying to go, man, that Keith Green, he was amazing, and try to make Keith Green music, that's not today.
Exactly.
So it's like, it's probably not going to work well.
Yeah.
Now, then again, someone might argue, well, look what Bruno Mars does. Well, Bruno Mars makes better versions of classics. The dude is insane.
Exactly.
But
It's a whole different
whole different
game.
animal. But what I would tell him is, one, is make relevant sounding music.
Yeah.
You know, work super hard at that. Then once you have that, when you want to book shows, don't sit there and tell them all you've accomplished. Like, your email should not be, hi, my email is not, hey guys, my name is Tom Golly. I've played shows with Newsboys.
Yeah.
I've played shows with these people. I've played shows with, I don't do that. It's,
Yeah.
hi, my name's Tom Golly. I'm a CCM artist out of Nashville, Tennessee, originally from Long Island. I do a lot of touring. Right now, we're booking for the last real tour I did was, we're booking for the Keep Fighting tour, and our message is all about mental health, people struggling with their own self-worth and value. And in 2017, my family dealt with a loss due to a drug addiction.
Yeah.
And we're really trying to speak into the lives of people to let them know that they're valuable, they're loved, and that there is a God who is always fighting for them.
Yeah.
So here's the opening
that.
dates we have. And then here's more information about me. Now they click my EPK, and that's where they're going to learn.
Yeah.
I played with this person, that person, and
Yeah.
things like that. But ultimately, what did I do? I told them, this is what we do,
Yeah.
and this is what we're here to say.
Yeah.
And
This is
that,
who I am.
but
as an artist.
right?
Man.
And this is, but so ultimately, by booking us, we're going to come here, and this is what
Yeah.
we're going to talk about.
It's the message, man.
Yeah.
Christian music has always been about the message.
And then-
it is
yeah.
not about primarily about the art, honestly.
It's never about the artist, man. It's about the song.
message and the song. See, the songs and it's like, I talk with artists about this all the time, who get frustrated with the fact that, well, how can this artist put out this music? It's cheesy. Do they know that's cheesy? They know they're not putting out the 1975 super uber pop, like
Right.
hipster stuff that's dope. It's like they're not painting a Sistine Chapel. They know that. It's probably more like the art that you walk in on the wall in your grandma's house that cost $15 or $20. They know that because it's message based and stuff. But that's why, as an artist, you ask what I'm doing this year. I love like really good art. I want to dive full blown into the pop stuff because I do love great art. Not that the songs that I put out as a Christian artist, they're not really good or they're not potentially great in some respects, but it's message based. That is why I do that. And so the other side of me like has to be fulfilled, obviously artistically. So that's why I'm going to take some time, work on some really cool pop music. And I try to explain that to artists. Like, you have to know who you are, what your message is, what you want to do. And then once you know that, focus in on it. If it's not Christian music, but you're a Christian, like, don't feel guilt with that.
Don't feel guilt with it.
Don't feel guilt. Like, not everyone's meant to do Christian music or worship music. But you are meant to do something as an artist. Find out what that lane is, man, and go at it hardcore.
Yeah. Like, my last couple singles have been not as overtly, obviously, like tons of scripture in it. You know, if you listen to it, okay, this is a song by a Christian.
Yeah. It's faith-based.
Yeah, but like my last couple songs, I've tried to go a little bit of just kind of pull back the throttle on the heavy Jesus, like it's so overtly obvious that it's a Jesus song. And that's been intentional, just because I'm trying to move around. Now, the next single I'm going to release is called Serenity. That's straight up about the Serenity prayer.
Yes.
It's about it's honestly to me it's a great prayer to try to speak of. Obviously, we changed it a little bit to make a better song, but there is a section of the song where I actually like verbally recite the actual prayer, which is going to be really cool. But it's good. And honestly, I kind of bringing back a little bit of the rock edge that I once had.
I'm so happy.
Just
about
a
that.
little bit, yeah. Did I ever send you the little demo we got? The drums are awful because they're just like
I don't think I had the demo. But like when I was writing it, like what I thought in my head when I think you brought up the Serenity Prayer.
Yeah.
And it was like, I pictured this because I came up, I loved mid-2000s rock. I'm like,
Yeah.
this feels melodically with what we're composing and then lyrically, the way everything's struck, it feels like it needs to sit in a sonic space that is in Rockland.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
I listened to Three Doors Down. I listened to all these like Seether, all this stuff in the like early mid 2000s.
Yeah.
I loved it. I'm like, I feel like this song could sit in this ish type of space.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are gonna do with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we went.
But-
Like we went with like, there's definitely a teeny bit of a Linkin Park-ish kind of where they mixed like a pop with a little bit of edge in their later stuff. Has a little of that, but it also has a bit more of this like, there's just this big, like there was a song almost like it's called Bittersweet Symphony that had like big, you know,
I remember that
had
one.
big strings in it. So it's cool. What currently the track that we currently have has like example drums.
Yeah.
And it's hard to listen to because these fills are just like not right. It's almost like someone who doesn't play drums went on the just I don't know. It's like this doesn't work, so it's hard to listen to currently. But it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a huge song. I have people who are like, dude, I loved your first EP. I don't like your newer stuff, and I'm the opposite. I like my newer stuff better than my old EP. But at the end of the day,
I think your songwriting, the songwriting is just. Has gotten so much more dialed in from like that first EP, and that's what I don't think fans don't always understand. Like maybe that's a true fan. They just love you. They love what you do, and there's a lot of your heart in those first records. But in the singles, it's like wow, his songwriting's dialed in. Man, production is dialed in. Like all of this stuff. Like, and it feels like you.
Right.
So
which I feel like I'm definitely finding more of like who am I? What am I? And you know, and it is what it is. You know, the
fans are going to be fans, man.
Fans are going to be fans. Record labels are still going to ignore me.
Big
name artists are still going to blow me off like they do.
I'm with you, dude.
It's all good.
I'm just kind of like, whatever.
It's all good.
I just make my jams.
Yeah.
So
though, but yeah, man, dude, it has just been awesome.
Bro.
If I wasn't trying to do like 1 to 1.5 hour podcast, we could easily do a 3-hour podcast. But dude,
I love it.
It's just I'm excited for you. Excited for your album that's coming. And
we got a song that you and I and Ross wrote is going on the record.
It is.
It's You and Me.
You are.
I'm self-producing that. Surprise at the very end of the. I'm cutting it. I'm self-producing it, so it might be garbage, but at least it'll be on the record. So I don't know.
Maybe I could do. Maybe I'll do a feature on it.
A feature featuring Tom Golly.
Dude, I'll just I'll drop some rap vibes or something.
I can do some rap vibes. I haven't actually put a rap artist on yet, but I might just need to pull the trigger on this one.
You know, or maybe I can really go hardcore rock and I can just like, you know, what it was called You and Me, I think it was, right? Yeah.
You and Me, yeah.
You and Me.
Yes, it's going to be this contrast between this like bedroom pop vibe and Tom Golly's scream vocals or something. So
yeah, but that's awesome, dude. I did not know that. I'm so excited. That's
boom,
so cool.
Surprise! Got a song on your record
coming out.
One on mine. It's gonna,
it's
good stuff, man.
That's
community. We talked that. Dude. That's what it's about. Like, that's what I love this.
I was going to ask you about it too, because you said in the right, hey, because I know we wrote it thinking like, hey, maybe this would be a me song. And my problem is I haven't even gotten past Serenity yet to even think about something else.
Yes.
So it was like, I wonder if he really wants to use it. And then here you are.
I did, because I was really connecting with the message, and it stayed in my head weeks and weeks. I would be singing it and looking at the lyrics. I'm like, I know this was awesome. Like based around his story, but like I feel like this is part of my story too, my message. So,
dude, and that's the thing. I think that's
super pop.
I think that's the beauty part about what I've learned. I learned this from Benji Coward, of all people.
Yeah, Benji's great.
Amazing, and just he was speaking, kind of doing like a TED Talk type thing about songwriting. And I tell people this all the time, and even podcast. I try to say, like, look, you know, if you're trying to think about this podcast reaching millions, you're probably not going to reach anybody.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking like, hey, there might be 5 people that I think could glean something from this, and that's your target, it probably has a better chance of hitting more people.
Yes.
So that's why I try to write more out of like, sometimes, is this something that I need to speak to myself, or is there a particular person that I'm trying to talk to? Or, you know, like I think we had one song, right, that I think we ended up scrapping the song midway through, but we started writing like about a person. We're just
Was that
like,
a Guitar Center? We wrote a Guitar Center.
Oh, dude, I remember
in
that.
the rain and cold. It was,
Rain.
I don't know. It was.
Well, yeah, and I had spent money having I was having a song produced, and the song needed another verse, and
we were trying to work on that. I think, maybe.
Well, what happened was the big big name songwriter that was on it, just sort of like wanted nothing to do with helping me fix it.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm not cutting the song anymore.
Yeah.
So because I just felt like, man, if I'm not going to get support from the other writers, I'm out.
Yeah.
And look, maybe that was the wrong call. Maybe it was the right call. For me, I just believe that. Look, I believe this. When we all write a song, if you came to me next week and said, hey, man, we wrote this song. I'd really like to make some changes and I want to get you involved in it. Can you make time? Now, if I can't, I'd tell you, hey, man, do whatever you want to do with it. It's totally fine. Not go, okay, cool, let me make some changes. And then, like, I make the changes and tell you those are the only options. And when if they're not good, what are you going to do? Yeah. So those and just nobody else involved in the song had time or was even very interested in dealing with it. So I scrapped it.
Oh, man,
so I came to you with this track that I already spent money having made. Like, let's write to it.
Yeah.
And the track was so specific to the melodies of that song, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed at that whole thing. I gotta say, God was involved in all of that because out went that, in came Keep Fighting.
Yeah.
Which is my biggest song to date.
So great.
And so that all had to happen.
Yeah.
And so
in
essence, you were part of that process in helping me realize, man, this track is good, but it's too hard to write to it. And I don't think that's either of our strengths either.
Yeah.
Writing to a track.
I like to do tracks from the ground up. It's
1,000%.
And the production is influenced, by the melody.
And I personally,
and
I like writing me and someone else and one instrument.
Yeah,
let's write this, and then let's build that from there because because I like to write songs where literally I can think of 5 different styles and genres that this lyrically and melodically could be. Yeah. And I always, and you have told you this, I always think, oh, dude, if this could be done this way live, and oh my gosh, and I always try to think about that because that's what I am. I'm ultimately a performer. I'm a singer. Yeah. And I'm a show. I don't want to call myself a showman, but that's my thing. I like to perform. I like to give people something that they're gonna, the back of their neck, the hairs are going to stand up. Or whatever.
Exactly.
So that's always been my goal when we go into writing. But.
No, and it should. It's like knowing who you are as an artist. It's like, do I love the studio? Great. Maybe you should be in the studio all the time. Do I love like doing 50 writes a year? Well, that's what you should do. Do I love being on stage? All right. Then you should do that. Let everything influence how you get that. From the track creation, man, how is this going to hit in like an arena setting? When I'm opening for a Matthew West in a big situation with 10,000 people, how is this opening song going to hit? Like, I want it to hit. Let's think about that in the writing room. So I love that, like, you do that. So that's great, man.
Now, listen, as we wrap up, there's something I've been kind of burning to ask your opinion on.
Here we go.
One thing I like is with you, a lot of times I'm often surprised that the take I get from you on things and how similar it is to mine. Okay. So what are your thoughts on this trend? And I see a lot of artists do it. And again, if any of the,
I wonder if I'm doing it. Here we go.
I don't think you are. Now, I just want to cover this by, if you're an artist friend of mine and I'm not bashing you by
Tom's putting you on blast right now.
I'm not doing that. I don't understand the trend of what I'm seeing. I don't get it. Especially now, I get it. I'll tell you that after I explain what it is, I'll explain why I get it, and then we're gonna wrap up after this take. But so we'll try to end these episodes with like a
hot take,
like a hot take that gets people going. He said what?
The Jets what being bad again? Okay, I'm sorry, we're not gonna go down that road.
There's no road to go down, man.
There's no road.
That's a graveyard to walk into.
Oh man.
But no, like what I see a lot of artists doing this new thing now, because they read books about social media, and they hear like guys like Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V talking about, like just add value. So what I see is I see a lot of people who in my opinion haven't mastered anything. Like, I don't do this kind of stuff because I haven't mastered anything. I'm still a student. Yeah. So who am I to try to be an authority on anything?
Yeah.
So what I see a lot of is, and you see it mostly in like groups that a lot of these like artists or songwriters are in, but you could tell they spend a lot of time creating these Facebook posts that have like 10 photos that all have text in it. And some of it's just like vastly regurgitated quotes about a certain concept, or just like this how-to type thing that they're saying, oh, this helped me a lot. So they spent hours or whatever putting together this little slideshow to put out there.
Yeah.
But for their peers. And I find like, now I see people do it who are, hey, I'm an artist development person, so I'm going to create this as content to draw people in to see what I'm doing. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I see people who aren't doing that, but they just do it because they think, oh, this is helpful in some way. Yeah. So let me spend time creating that instead of creating things that really point more toward their music and their ministry and their message. So like, what are your thoughts on that as a trend for people trying to market themselves? And why are they trying to market themselves to their peers? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Your peers aren't going to buy your merch. Your peers aren't going to book you shows. Your peers might get you a show, their church, that can happen. But like, I just don't understand why this marketing play to your peers. Because it just doesn't. Now, again, you may have a take on it that's like, dude, this is why. Maybe you should too. But I just sit back and go, what's that? What is everyone doing? Is it because it's trendy, or is it because it's effective? What am I missing? Or am I spot on?
I think people are being told by the gurus that they need to create content. And that's what they're hearing. Now, if you listen to some social media, like big time marketers or whatever guru you're talking about, like moneymaker guys like Grant Cardone, like they do have very specific ways to get stuff done that's focused. But I think what people hear, general people who are putting out random content that doesn't seem focused, is, oh, I just got to put out content. Because I fall into that strategy too. Oh, I got to post. It's helpful to post, but you need to be very clear and specific on why you're posting, what you're posting about.
And who you're posting.
And who you're posting to. I realized that with my social media even recently, which I haven't even done anything on it, because I'm like, no one cares about my studio pic. Like, I've done enough of those. No one cares. Why would I waste my bandwidth to like post random stuff that no one cares about? Maybe some peers follow me that gets like 30 to 40 or 50 likes. It's the same thing that I posted. It's not adding any type of value. I think people are getting sucked into the content creation myth. Right. What I see with certain groups that are out there, they're producers, they're artist developers, they have a very specific group of people that they are marketing to, that they are trying to help with really good quality content.
Sure.
I think we know several people that are doing that
and
doing it pretty well. But they're creating a community of hundreds of people, and within that community, there's a certain number, maybe 20, 30 people who are actually going to take their content and use it, and maybe there's another 3 or 4 people, this is just being real, who are going to buy some type of higher-end product from them, which is nothing wrong with that. That's what those groups are confined to.
But in that content makes sense.
But not random people, like a trend, I don't – it doesn't make me mad, but I'm like, you don't really need to be doing that.
Well, what I see sometimes is I'll see, for argument's sake, and again, I'm not trying to be mean or bashful or even be like, because I get misunderstood when I write this stuff on Facebook. That's why a podcast is perfect for me, because I want people to understand my heart. I'm not trying to be judgmental or even mean.
Yeah.
But and this is my conviction a lot of times, and it's why I don't post a lot about the things. Like, even I've written some good songs. I've been part of some great writes, but I'm not about to, start, and I've had a lot of streams. I've had some good successes as an indie artist, but I'm not about to start posting things that are like telling people how the process of writing should be, what their mindset should be on writing, because who the heck am I? What have I done? And I'm happy to share that with someone who goes, hey, Tom, what's your process? Or, hey, do you have any advice for me? Sure, I'll share that. But like trying to create content like I'm some guru, and I see this from people who maybe have released one song ever. They've maybe, or maybe they've been in a couple of co-writes. And I mean, whether the song they wrote is great or not, it doesn't. It's not the point. It's just like maybe, and again, it's more for me about looking at what they're sharing and going, okay, you've basically just reworded something that a Grammy winning, like someone who's written thousands of songs is sharing, and coming from them is the right way. Yeah. That makes sense. But coming from you, to me, looking at your body of work going, what is this?
It's almost like you don't really maybe not deserve to be posting it, but you don't have the credentials for me to take you seriously enough.
Like I see a guy like Sam Hart. He makes a lot of content.
Yeah.
Some of it's that, hey, here's some tips. Let me show you. And it's incredible tips. Yeah. His body of work is amazing. Yeah. Who he works with is amazing. Yeah. It's coming from a place that you can go, that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can trust that.
Right.
I can take that.
Yeah. And so like, for instance, and like the way I market this podcast studio, the way we market it is, this is what we're doing. It's pretty good. Now, as we do it more, we may share, hey, here's a lighting tip for you, for other podcasters. Yeah. That makes sense for us to reach out to podcasters. Yeah. Why? Because podcasters are who our clients are. Yeah. And if we can be helpful to the podcasting world, because a lot of people podcast and video from home. So let's add value to what you got. Yes. And then down the road, you'd be like, hey, man, I learned this from To the Moon Creative. Oh, they got a studio in Murfreesboro. Do they? Let's go use that. Yeah. That's how that makes sense.
Exactly.
But if
you're a random person.
Right, but if I'm just a random podcaster who's maybe done 2 podcast episodes, and now suddenly I'm going to make this long thing about how to name your podcast, how to do this. Who are you?
The gurus are telling them to do that. I've been a part of marketing courses, and you are told it doesn't matter whether you have experience or whether you have great quality. You just start putting content out there.
And I think what the gurus are really trying to say, though, the gurus, I think what they're really trying to convey, like Gary Vee talks about, look, you don't know what you're doing? Go on it and tell people, I don't know what I'm doing. When you're like, guys, I just bought this ring light. Look at the difference it does. This is insane. Wow. Post that. Yes. Because now someone goes, oh, dude, that guy he showed what a difference a ring light was, and he was blown away by it too. Now you don't look like a blowhard. Yeah. You don't look like I'm an expert. You're like you're Ant-Man in the Avengers, who's like, I'm fighting with Captain America. Exactly. Wow. Be Ant-Man. Because everyone loves Ant-Man. Yeah. Who hates Ant-Man? Nobody. Because he's just like more blown away by what's happening than you. So that's
the realness.
That's what I think show people the realness of, hey, like I learned this. But like creating these colorful slideshows, this nice text. I don't know that that's giving the desired effect. Because to me, when I see it, I don't even look at them. I'm just like I prefer someone show a video. Yeah, guys, I just learned this. Or hey, guys, you know what? I just remembered that when I first started doing this, I used to do it this way, and then someone showed me this, and it was awesome, so I want to share that with you. Yeah. That makes sense. Share that with regular people. But again, if you're trying to gain followers, fans, people buying your merch, trying to get in cool with your peers by giving tips and things, it's just not super helpful. No, I don't think so. And I also feel like, too,
waste of time.
It's also dangerous because like there was one, I think it was one of the groups that I'm part of, I think you're in it too, where someone was sharing like, here's how I get booked on festivals. But what he left out was like, dude, festivals are virtually impossible to get onto unless you have top-notch music, your EPK is on point, everything about what you're doing looks high level. Yeah. Don't try, and they try to make it just come out like, well, all you got to do is this. It's like, that, no, it's not that simple.
That's one-third of it.
And what I'm always afraid of is trying to be helpful to people is giving this advice, and then it's someone who's doesn't have everything else on point. Yeah. Being like, oh, I did what you said, didn't work. Yeah. This industry is ridiculous. This is, and they get salty. Yeah. And really, there's a lot of reasons to be salty in this industry, but just because you didn't get booked at a festival, it's like, dude, there's so much more than just how you email or who you email.
And that's why I love the one-on-one aspect. That's why I do coaching with artists. I do songwriting I will write with anyone. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't charge. It's just like, if I can set it and make it happen in my schedule, I have a certain amount of.
I'm proof of
indie
that.
rights.
That's why you write with me. It's because you'll write with anyone.
You
Yeah.
know,
Standards are low.
We talk. Yeah,
I'll write with
know.
anyone from Tom Golly on up.
we just, you know, we just talk for an hour and a half. Usually, is kind of what it is, and we get a little bit, we get a hook maybe or whatever. But
well, I'll tell you now, this is probably one of my longest podcasts. But hey, we're gonna wrap this thing up, man.
Yeah,
Dude,
man.
Thank you for coming on,
dude. Yeah,
incredible to have you here. I always love talking
fantastic,
with you.
my friend.
We should do this again, and I don't know which camera angle that's going to be on.
That might be a not great camera shot. Sorry.
It's all good. You might have to just quickly like jump back and forth.
Just jump back and forth.
But dude, awesome to see you.
Yeah.
Jonathan Jackson. Check him out at JG Jackson on Instagram. Probably his favorite.
At JG Jackson Music.
Oh, it's at okay.
And you are Tom Golly official. Boom.
Jonathan Jackson. Check him out at JG Jackson Music on Instagram. You can probably find him on Facebook, but if you've listened this far, you'll know this. He'll try his best to get back to you.